All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining the session there. And yeah, good evening to all of you attending from wherever in the world you are. So, this is about flexible and collaborative integrations using Slack in MuleSoft. I'll do a very brief intro about myself. So, again, my name is Eduardo Ponzoni. I'm a director of cloud engineering at Deloitte, and I'm also a MuleSoft ambassador. As you can see, quite different the way that I look now, like very short hair, now quite long hair, etc. But again, as for me, I have over 19 years of experience pretty much doing software engineering and specifically integration. Some of you might know me or recognize as a public speaker, and now I also have dozens of articles on all things integration published everywhere in there. Once again, I'm an integration specialist. I hold a number of MuleSoft certs. Some expired. I still have to renew them. In terms of work, the people who work with me or know me, they would know that I'm really passionate about both sales and pre-sales and the actual delivery of integration solutions. This is where really my passion lies. And otherwise, I'm the leader or one of the leaders of the integration capability of Deloitte and based here in Australia in sunny Brisbane, right, which is super cool. I have also shared some of my contact details in there for Medium, for some of the blogs. You can reach out in LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever. Right, flexible and collaborative integrations. The context of this session really is about, once again, how to bring Mule and Slack together in the context of, again, flexibility and collaboration, where flexibility is really ability to change or to adapt. In this case of Mule, as you might know, there's a lot of different ways of deploying MuleSoft apps and actually using Mule. And same thing for Slack, right? In terms of collaboration. And when you bring those two together, they definitely reign. There's nothing that can compare. And that's the focus here. I'll speak a little bit based on my experience, actually bringing those two together as part of a C4E team or a support team looking after MuleSoft and how we can actually embed Slack to make the experience better. Very quick recap there about Mule. As you know, Mule is a full-blown integration platform and API management. Again, the focus of this thing is really around administration and management, which in MuleSoft world, if you actually do that potentially on a daily basis, lots of that can be done via using Maven plugins. You can actually obviously use the Anypoint Platform UI, or you can also use Anypoint CLI and actually leverage as well the Anypoint APIs, which is really what I'll demonstrate shortly. Then again, the integration between those two, between Mule and Slack, could also be done via the Slack connector if you're actually building a MuleSoft application. But that's not what I'll demonstrate in here. It's slightly different, and I'll tell you why. Now, again, talking about Slack, very brief recap on Slack, even though Lawrence covered most of the stuff in a previous session there. So Slack is really all about communication and sharing, interaction between people. Now, what's really interesting for this particular session is the programming model that we have in Slack for integration. So what you have available there is, which is a lot of different channels and a lot of different ways. So you could actually communicate back and forth using incoming and outgoing webhooks. There's bots, there's web API, there's slash commands, events API, and Slack application. So there's really, it's a range of ways or range of options for you to choose from and leverage. And what's really interesting is that for more, as I mentioned in here, more human-friendly collaboration, and by embedding or creating a Slack app or even a slash command, you can actually exchange and add more interactivity to your integration there or to your collaboration with Slack and Mule in a way that it doesn't have to be only system to system. So you can bring all of that to improve the experience to more to humans, actually. In this case, again, for people actually managing the platform. So the way that it works in either Slack apps, again, talking about the programming model there, either in Slack apps or slash commands, the way that it responds back to you is in terms of acknowledgement responses. There's actual messages. So acknowledgement is just saying, yep, cool, got your message, accepted. Message responses could actually have a payload. There's the modal style, and also those responses can be asynchronous. So in some of the examples here that I'll demonstrate shortly, we make a call to slash command, and their response is not immediate. All that it responds is like, yep, cool, okay, got your request. I'll process something in the background, and we'll come back to you shortly. Now, if we dive down a little bit into how that interaction with Slack actually works, when you look under the hood, so pretty much it's about HTTP communication, right? It's all based on requests and responses, where the format of the requests are always based on post, HTTP method post, and the content type is always such as form URL encoded, and it contains a number of fields and of particular relevance for this. I'm actually demonstrating some of them down here. Now, what's really the most interesting and important ones, I would say, are definitely command, which determines what's the intent or what's the action when you make the call, say, to this slash command. And also a text, which defines a number or a set of parameters to that command. And last but not least, the response URL. So what's going to happen is Slack's going to send out that request to the slash command, whatever the implementation is. And it's going to say, look, when you finish processing, you have to respond to me, or I expect a response to this URL. As an example of our request using a slash command, we have a photo here, or just a screenshot of Bob making a call to, imagine like a slash command slash weather, and then it goes with some sort of parameter, slash calls an API, and sends back a response, where the response would look like this. Again, very HTTP standard. Slack would respond, yep, 200 status code, okay, which indicates a success, and that response could have a full-blown body, sorry, or it could just be an acknowledgement. In the case of sending back, and that's the interesting part there, when it actually sends you back a response body, that body could actually be just a plain text. Imagine something, yep, okay, got it, or some sort of factual information. Or it could also be a JSON payload, which is based on Slack's block kit. So all of these UIs that you see in Slack, all of them follow that standard of block kit. It's not quite the focus of this presentation, but if anyone is actually interested in diving down into that, I'm happy to share some links, etc. Now, as you guys have seen, the idea there was to talk about integration between Slack and Mule, and there was Spring Boot somewhere in there, right? And then people might be wondering, well, what does Spring Boot have to do with that? Well, Spring Boot, as you know, you probably use it once again every day, is a great option for developing microservices or Java microservices. It's really a de facto framework for doing that. And it's Java-based, once again, Java-based, very friendly. Everybody's used to it. It's lightweight, fast, and flexible. I guess what really makes it interesting for this particular scenario is that in some of the cases, you wouldn't be allowed to actually build MuleSoft applications that are not necessarily business-related applications. So in that case, you would have to have some sort of fallback. In this case, I have opted for Spring Boot as a cheaper option, if you will. Right? It could be that, or you could actually have a proper limitation in terms of the vCores that you have available. Whatever would be the case, Spring Boot is there to help you with some of that stuff. And this is what I'll demonstrate in here. So again, in the context of managed services or C4E, actually looking after the platform, making sure it's making sure it's healthy and it's actually growing. I have highlighted a number of use cases here where we could actually leverage this connectivity between Salesforce and MuleSoft and actually bring up all of this flexibility in collaboration to them. So some of the use cases listed in there are, for example, you can create some automated tasks that you would do normally as one administering MuleSoft on a daily basis. You could actually see that, run it, see the responses, the interaction and all in Slack. The other stuff could be, imagine scenarios where you have a whole bunch of APIs, where there's manual SLAs, one requesting access to them. You could just receive a notification on Slack going, there's a new API access request here, you can approve or you can reject it. And there's other stuff as well, which I'll demonstrate very shortly. For example, receiving notifications of API alerts or application alerts. So instead of having to wait for an email or actually going to Anypoint Platform, you don't have to leave Slack. Everything is there. All the communication, all of the collaboration happens in there. Also, we could start sharing more of the assets that we have, once again, in an environment where people are actually used and comfortable with Slack. Imagine, for example, having all of the non-technical people browsing APIs, API specifications, connectors, whatever, for their own use, without having to navigate to Anypoint Exchange. All very handy, all contained within Slack itself. That could be also a very nice use case. And one last one listed in there is actually doing some health tests of the application. Imagine at some point during the day, you want to check something ad hoc. You could also do that via Slack, communicating with Mule. Right, now to demonstrate all of that stuff, as I mentioned, I have put together a little solution that really demonstrates users users using Slack, doing all of this collaboration, and then the integration going all the way through to Spring Boot, which is going to be responsible for all of the communication with the downstream MuleSoft APIs, in converting the results of that processing back to Slack to then show to the user on a proper screen. Now, the fun part of this thing, and I'm pretty sure some of you guys might like, is the fact that in Spring Boot, I'm not just calling the Anypoint Platform APIs, I'm also using DataWeave embedded into the Spring Boot application. So to generate all of those block kits, I'm actually using DataWeave instead of creating or using any JSON library. I'm actually transforming all of that using DataWeave, which I'll show shortly. So let me just switch here to Slack and start demonstrating some of that stuff there. So here, as I mentioned, I have one MuleSoft Anypoint Platform Slack app configured in here, and I also have a channel Anypoint where I'm going to interact with Mule. Just once again, just for some fun, what I did in here is something that a slash command that I would say sort of resembles a mixture of CLI and SQL. Again, just for a bit of fun. In a more real scenario, would probably do with a screen or something simpler. But there we go. Imagine like I'm part of a C4E, right? And then as part of my daily tasks, I would have to, for example, list the business groups that I have in my Cloud Hub subscription, right? In my MuleSoft subscription. So I would go call slash command slash Anypoint, and then I will go list business groups. That will trigger a call to my Spring Boot API, which is going to call MuleSoft, send something back, and I'll show, cool, these are the business groups that you have. Again, very simple for the sake of demonstration. I just have, in this particular case, one business group. And then I can start drilling down into this thing, right? So I have listed the business groups that I have. So now suppose I want to call that same slash command, but then this time I want to go list the environments where, that's where the SQL part comes in. Business group is headquarters. Same stuff. This will make the call there. Give me the environments that sits underneath that business group there. And I can go even further down, which I'll make it quick. So I could go slash anypoint list, and then I could go, for example, and list my Cloud Hub applications. And then I could go list my Cloud Hub applications where the business group is headquarters and the environment is sandbox. We'll make the call there and we'll take a little time. Yep, there we go. And then we can see here, it can show me the current status. It's going to list all of the applications in there. It's going to show me the current status. Again, given the flexibility or the flexible model that both of these APIs and also Slack bring to you, I could actually expand this thing and go, well, I don't want to see only the status and the workers. I want to see further details. It's all part of the response of the Cloud Hub API. I could capture that and send back that response. There's another one that I would like to show very quickly, which is monitoring. So I could go, now I want to see actually metrics of monitoring of those Cloud Hub applications. So I could go there, monitoring, and then similar stuff where business groups, in environment equals sandbox. Once again, this will make the calls there, and that's going to take a little bit of time. So we'll leave it processing in the background, but all that it's going to do is make a few calls. Oh, there we go. So it makes the calls to MuleSoft once again and brings back some of the metrics that I have. In this case, I haven't provided a lot of details. All that I said was the business group and environment, and the application in this case defaults to the period of 120 days. So whatever happens to that API in the next 120 days, it's going to show me back here, similar to what you would do using the actual Anypoint UI. So this shows me memory utilization, CPU utilization. I can see the number of requests, the number of successful requests, how many failed, etc.
Hey, Eduardo,
So
we have 1 minute.
Oh, sorry. What's that? Sorry, mate.
We have 1 minute left.
Oh, 1 minute left. Yeah. Oh, okay.
And I have shared the article also over the chat.
Nice, fantastic, brilliant. Okay.
Even I question, you can reach out to the LinkedIn profile with Eduardo. Yeah,
absolutely. All right. So well, if we don't have the time, that's fine. I'll skip some of this stuff in there. But what I really wanted to show, if it's possible, is, let me just quickly navigate to Anypoint here. You should take just a few seconds. So imagine like I have an API here. I want to request access to it. I have an API instance, certain application that I created before in SLA tier. I'll make the request. Not sure if we're going to have enough time for this, but what's going to happen behind the scenes is I'll receive that notification and automatically send it back to Slack. So in here, in my app, a new message is going to pop up to go, look, there's a new API request access there to be approved. Do you want to approve or reject? So just to highlight the idea of how we can bring those two together.
Thank you.
Oh, that was awesome, Eduardo. I think a lot of us are going to experiment and learn a bit more about how to do that. I can see so much value in my own use cases to put that
nice.
put that in place. Sorry, everyone. We do have another session for closing and networking, and would love to see you in there, perhaps to get a group photo. So if you've got the time, it'd be great if you're able to join the session, and we can probably continue the conversation about this very cool feature. Okay, pop over now.
Sounds good. Okay, I'll stop sharing then. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Great stuff.